Hey everyone, welcome to another Board of Trustees summary for the July 25th meeting, regular meeting of the Board of Trustees of the Township of South Orange Village. Before we started last night, there were a couple of announcements. If you haven't been to a concert downtown yet, they're great, incredible, please try and do so. This past weekend was a little humid, but great. Every Friday and Saturday night in Spiota Park and on Sloane Street, there's concerts starting at about 7:30 p.m. And those are organized by Main Street and sponsored by Investors Savings Bank and by the Village. There are also free concerts Wednesday night at 7:30 p.m. at Floods Hill, and the Main Street Farmers Market Wednesday 2 to 7 p.m. and that's in the parking lot off of Sloane Street and First Street. So you can head over to Sloane Street, buy some fresh produce, and then head over to Floods Hill and check out some music. National Night Out, August 2nd at 7 p.m. And that is at Floods Hill. Really excited about that. That's put together by the Citizens Public Safety Committee. It's a great chance. The Police Department, Fire Department, Rescue Squad, Seton Hall, many others will be out there. And it's a great chance to meet some of your public safety personnel, celebrate community police relations. There'll be activities, and also Toy Story 3 out on Floods Hill. You can learn a little bit more about that at southorangenno.com. The next budget workshop for the Board of Trustees will be August 8th at 7:30 p.m. here in Village Hall. And our next planning and strategy meeting for the Board of Trustees will be August 15th at 7:30 p.m. in Jubilee Hall at Seton Hall University. And that will be the final meeting of our planning sessions, where we've come together and put our values, priorities, objectives, goals, which will culminate in a report and a framework for progress going forward for South Orange. YouthNet came in last night and did a great presentation. I wanted to thank them for that, and also thank them for their great intern who's helping out in Village Hall. We went on to approve our minutes, and we had a couple ordinances up for second reading last night. 2011-10, an ordinance establishing crosswalks and bicycle lanes on both sides of Mead Street between Meadowbrook Lane and Vose Avenue passed. 2011-14, a bond ordinance which appropriated an aggregate amount of $3 million, and that's for renovations to Village Hall. That also passed. A bond ordinance authorizing about $418,000 to finish all the firehouse project. That also passed. That was 2011-15. 2011-16 was an ordinance that reappropriated old bond money that was unspent. It was appropriated but unspent, now to be used for future projects. And that passed as well. There were two ordinances that were up for first reading, which were tabled from our July 11th meeting. Both of those ordinances were tabled again. The first one, 2011-12, was an ordinance regarding political lawn signs. And 2011-13 is an ordinance establishing a fee schedule. Those were both tabled until our next meeting. We had a public comment period. We had a few residents who had some concerns, mostly about sort of public works issues around town, and we passed those along to the appropriate departments. In the future, hopefully, we're really excited because we're looking into easier digital ways for residents to share that kind of information that will allow us to have a better workflow for service requests that come in, and allow residents more of an opportunity to help be part of maintaining the aesthetic value of our community. We had resolutions, 15 resolutions on our consent agenda last night. And again, instead of reading those, they will scroll through the screen right now. You can pause it and look at an ordinance if you'd like to. We moved on. The last item on the consent agenda is always, if we do move into executive session, what those agenda items are. And last night that was the firehouse renovation, which is a litigation matter, and two personnel matters, Villager of the Month nominee and volunteer applications. And we also had discussion of IT department, which was a personnel matter, and East Orange Water Commission, which was a contract matter. We approved the consent agenda, and then we had 4 resolutions for separate action. These were kind of a little bit of the meat of the meeting, which was a short meeting last night. And these were 4 recommendations that the Charter Review Committee made to us that the board discussed previously. And last night, each item we had decided would be on our agenda as a separate resolution to put a question on the ballot for the November general election regarding these recommendations that the Charter Review Committee made. These would be a non-binding referendum to gauge public sentiment in the community. So the 4 different recommendations. The first was to whether to change the name of South Orange from the Township of South Orange Village to South Orange Village. That was passed to be put on the ballot as a non-binding referendum in November. The second was changing the name of village president to mayor and trustee to council member and board of trustees to council. That also passed and will be a non-binding question on the ballot for the November general election. The third was regarding stipends for the village president and the trustees. $2,400 for village president, $1,800 for trustees. That was also passed and will be a non-binding question on the ballot in November. And the last one, which was a question regarding moving the election from May until the general election in November. That one was not passed, and as it stands now, will not be a question on the ballot in November. So 3 out of 4 of those will be questions for the public to weigh in on in November. Then the process there is that will come back to the Board of Trustees. That will help gauge the Board of Trustees as far as what is the public opinion on those 3 questions that will be on the ballot. And then the Board of Trustees will make their recommendations and vote on the changes to the charter. That will then go to the state legislature, and the entire thing will come back to the voters as one item to vote up or down after that process is completed. So this is about maybe a 18-month, 2-year process until we even get to those. Those were voted on last night because as it stands, that was our last meeting to take action before the deadline that is required to submit questions for the ballot in November, which have to be submitted to the county 75 days before an election, so they have time to prepare and put those on the ballot. Additionally, we approved our bills. And then we moved on to one topic that was on the agenda for discussion as a whole for the board, which was quality of life enforcement and issues impacting the village. That kind of came from the impetus of that was some discussions in the Public Safety Committee that I brought to the Public Safety Committee the last meeting about Sloan Street, and basically making sure that that as we go forward that we can do something about kind of the traffic and problems not only on Sloan Street but elsewhere. So the board did want to make sure to lend their support to looking at this issue. It was delegated back to the public safety to study it. That will be worked out with the chief of police, the village engineer, and others as to basically, well, what can we do to help solve some of the traffic problems on Sloan Street? We want to make sure that people can go down there, they can get in and out quickly if they're going to a store to pick something up. If they're going to pick someone up, we would, again, make sure that people are going to the pickup and drop-off spots behind the train station or down Sloan Street past the firehouse where there are pickup and drop-off spots. So we want to make sure that traffic flows a little bit smoother there, and we're going to be looking into ways through the Public Safety Committee about enforcement, or whether we need to put up more signage, or whether we need to do any physical improvements to Sloan Street, and a PR campaign to really help make sure that that makes Sloan Street the most accessible possible for people that are visiting or going to the train station. So that has been delegated back to the public safety with the board's support and making sure that we're looking at that issue. That was the last item on the agenda last night. We adjourned. And again, I hope this summary has been helpful. Please let me know if you have any questions. You can contact me, obviously any member of the board. You can always come to a meeting, to the public comment period as well. Thanks again, and hope to talk to you soon. Take care.